The detective's hand was already on Maya Chen's shoulder before she could finish dialing her lawyer. She hadn't even known she needed one. The coffee shop, where she'd worked double shifts for 3 years, watched through its rain-streaked windows as they walked her to the squad car. Her manager stood frozen behind the espresso machine, milk steaming forgotten in his hand. Maya's fingers trembled against the cold metal of the handcuffs, and she tried to remember how to breathe. They were saying words, fraud, embezzlement, federal charges, but none of them made sense. She was a barista. She had $18 in her checking account and a student loan balance that made her want to cry every time she checked her email. "There's been a mistake," she said, and her voice sounded small even to herself. The older detective, the one with gray at his temples and coffee stains on his tie, didn't look at her. "Save it for the station, Miss Chen." The precinct smelled like burnt coffee and industrial cleaner. They put her in a room with a metal table and 2 chairs bolted to the floor. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, a sound that burrowed into her skull and made her teeth ache. Through the one-way mirror, she could see her own reflection, pale skin, dark circles under her eyes, her barista apron still tied around her waist with someone's latte order scrawled across the pocket in Sharpie. She looked guilty. She looked like someone who'd done something terrible, but she hadn't. She hadn't done anything. The door opened, and a woman in a charcoal suit walked in carrying a manila folder thick with papers. She had the kind of face that gave nothing away, all sharp angles and careful neutrality. She sat down across from Maya and opened the folder without preamble. "Maya Chen," she said. "Born in San Francisco, moved to Chicago 3 years ago. Currently employed at Grind and Pour on Halsted. Is that correct?" Maya nodded. Her throat felt tight. "Can you explain why your social security number was used to open 17 different corporate accounts over the past 8 months? The woman slid a document across the table. "Can you explain why those accounts were used to launder approximately $4.3 million through a network of shell companies linked to the Castellano crime family?" The words landed like physical blows. Maya stared at the document, at the numbers that didn't mean anything, at a signature that looked like hers but wasn't. I've never. Your signature, your social, your address." The woman tapped each line with a manicured fingernail. "3 different banks confirmed you opened these accounts in person. We have security footage. That's impossible." Maya's hands were shaking so hard now she had to clasp them together in her lap. "I work 60 hours a week. I don't have time to, I wouldn't even know how to." "Then you're going to need a very good lawyer." The woman closed the folder. "Because right now, you're looking at 20 to 30 years in federal prison." The room tilted. Maya gripped the edge of the table, metal cold and unforgiving under her palms. 30 years. She'd be 53 when she got out. Her mother would be dead. Her little brother would have grown up without her. Everything she'd sacrificed for, every double shift and skipped meal, and nights spent studying for the business degree she'd never finished, all of it would be gone. "I didn't do this," she whispered. The woman stood up. "That's what they all say." They processed her after that. Fingerprints and photos and a bright orange jumpsuit that smelled like bleach and someone else's fear. They put her in a holding cell with 3 other women, one sleeping in the corner, one pacing like a caged animal, one sitting on the bench staring at nothing. Maya sat down on the concrete floor because the bench was full and pressed her forehead to her knees. She thought about calling her mother, but what would she even say? "Hi, Mom, I've been arrested for money laundering for the Mafia." "No, I don't know how it happened." "No, I can't afford bail." She thought about her brother Tommy, 17 and smart, and counting on her to send money for his college applications next month. She thought about the life she'd been building, brick by careful brick, and how it had just collapsed into rubble. Someone called her name. Not the guards, another voice, male, with an accent she couldn't quite place. She looked up. A man stood at the bars of her cell. He was tall and broad-shouldered, wearing a black suit that probably cost more than her car. His dark hair was swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble, all sharp cheekbones, and a jaw that looked like it had never smiled. But it was his eyes that stopped her breath, gray as storm clouds and fixed on her with an intensity that made her feel stripped bare. "Maya Chen," he said. It wasn't a question. She stood up slowly, legs unsteady. The other women in the cell had gone quiet. Even the one who'd been pacing had stopped to stare. "Who are you?" "Someone who can get you out of here." He glanced at the guard standing nearby, then back to her. "But we need to talk first." "I'm not talking to anyone without a lawyer. I'm not law enforcement." He pulled something from his pocket, a gold medallion on a chain, intricately engraved with a symbol she didn't recognize. He held it up to the light for just a moment before tucking it away. "I'm Dante Castellano." The name hit her like a slap. Castellano. The same name the detective had said, the same crime family whose money she was accused of laundering. "I'm not talking to you," she said, backing away from the bars. "You should, because I know you didn't steal from me." His voice was calm, almost conversational, but there was steel underneath. "And I know who did." Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. "Why would you help me?" "I have my reasons." He glanced at his watch, expensive, silver, with a cracked crystal face. "You'll be arraigned tomorrow morning. The federal prosecutor is going to ask for no bail because of flight risk. The judge is going to agree. You'll be transferred to Cook County, and you'll sit there for 8 months waiting for trial. And by the time you get in front of a jury, whoever actually committed these crimes will be in another country with my money. So this is about your money. This is about justice." Something flickered in his eyes, there and gone too fast to read. "And about not letting an innocent woman take the fall for something she didn't do." "How noble of you," Maya said, and she was surprised by the bitterness in her own voice. "Tell me, Mr. Castellano, do you lose a lot of sleep over innocent people?" His expression didn't change, but she saw his jaw tighten. "More than you'd think." The guard shifted, looking uncomfortable. Dante pulled out his phone and made a call without breaking eye contact with Maya. "Get Barrett down here," he said to whoever answered. "Yes, now." He ended the call and pocketed the phone. "Harvey Barrett is the best criminal defense attorney in Illinois. He'll be here in 20 minutes. He'll get you released tonight." "I can't afford. I'm paying." Maya wrapped her arms around herself, trying to think through the panic. Nothing about this made sense. Why would a mob boss help her? What did he want in return? But the alternative was 8 months in jail, a trial she'd lose because she couldn't prove she didn't do something, and 30 years in prison. "What do you want from me?" she asked quietly. "Information." Dante leaned closer to the bars, and she caught the scent of expensive cologne mixed with something else. Gunpowder, maybe, or rain. "Someone used your identity to steal from me. I need to know who had access to your personal information. I need to know who could forge your signature well enough to fool a bank. I need to know who hates me enough to set this up. I don't know anything about your world. That's exactly why you're useful." He straightened, adjusting his cufflinks with precise movements. "Think about it, Miss Chen. Every document you've signed in the past year, every form with your social security number, every place that photocopied your driver's license. Someone got your information from somewhere." She thought about the coffee shop, the lease application for her studio apartment, the hospital forms when she'd taken her mother to the ER last spring. Her mind raced through possibilities, trying to find a pattern in the chaos. "There's too many places," she said. "I couldn't possibly. Then we'll go through them all." Dante checked his watch again. "Barrett will be here soon. He'll handle your release, then you're coming with me." "I'm not going anywhere with you." "Yes, you are." His voice didn't rise, but something in it changed, a note of command that made her spine straighten involuntarily. "Because tomorrow morning, if you're still in here, they're going to transfer you to county. And once you're in the system, Miss Chen, I can't protect you." "Protect me from what?" He was quiet for a moment, and in that silence she heard everything he wasn't saying. Someone had set her up. Someone had used her to steal from the Castellano family. And if that someone thought she knew too much, or if rival families thought she had information worth extracting. "The coffee shop where you work," Dante said. "Who hired you?" "The manager, Rob Park." "And before Chicago, where were you?" "San Francisco. I worked at my uncle's restaurant." "Uncle's name?" "James Chen, but he wouldn't." She stopped because how well did she really know Uncle James? She'd left San Francisco 3 years ago after the restaurant closed. After debts she hadn't known about piled up and the lease was lost. Uncle James had been apologetic, had pressed $200 into her hand and told her to make a fresh start somewhere else. She'd never questioned it. Dante was watching her face, reading something in her expression. "Your uncle's restaurant, what happened to it?" "It closed, financial troubles." "What kind of financial troubles?" "I don't know, I was just a server." But even as she said it, she remembered odd things. Men in expensive suits coming in after closing. Conversations in Cantonese that stopped when she entered the room. Uncle James nervous and sweating, taking calls at midnight that made his hands shake. "We're going to San Francisco," Dante said. "After we get you out. I can't just leave Chicago. I have a job, I have—" "You have nothing." His voice was gentle, but the truth of it cut deep. "Your job will fire you after this arrest. Your apartment lease will be terminated. Your friends will believe what they read in the papers. Everything you built here is already gone." She wanted to argue, but she couldn't. He was right. She could already imagine the headlines, the whispers, the way people would cross the street to avoid her. Footsteps echoed in the corridor. A man in a three-piece suit appeared beside Dante, carrying a leather briefcase that looked like it cost more than Maya's car. He was older, maybe 60, with silver hair and the kind of confidence that came from never losing. "Harvey Barrett," he introduced himself, already pulling out papers. "I'll have you out in 30 minutes, Miss Chen. Don't say anything to anyone until I've reviewed the evidence against you." It took 45 minutes, not 30, but Maya didn't care. She signed papers she didn't read, listened to legal jargon she didn't understand, and then she was walking out of the precinct into the cold Chicago night with Dante Castellano beside her and Harvey Barrett trailing behind with instructions to start filing motions. A black SUV was waiting at the curb. The driver didn't look at her as Dante opened the back door and gestured for her to get in. "I should go home," Maya said. "I should." "Your apartment is being watched," Dante interrupted. "Police and probably others, you're not safe there." She got in the car. They drove through the city in silence. Maya watched the lights blur past, trying to process everything that had happened in the past 6 hours. This morning, she'd been worried about making rent. Now she was in the back of a mob boss's SUV, accused of federal crimes, and apparently going to San Francisco to investigate her uncle. The SUV pulled up to a high-rise in River North, all glass and steel and money. Dante led her through a marble lobby where the doorman nodded respectfully, up an elevator that required a key card, and into a penthouse that took up the entire top floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. Leather furniture that looked like it had never been sat on. Abstract art on the walls that probably cost more than she'd make in a lifetime. It was beautiful and cold and utterly foreign to everything Maya knew. "Guest room is down that hall," Dante said, shrugging off his suit jacket. Without it, she could see the gun holstered at his side. "You'll find clothes in the closet. They should fit." "How did you—" "I'm thorough." He walked to a bar in the corner and poured himself a drink, whiskey, amber in a crystal glass. He didn't offer her one. "Get some sleep, we leave at 6. Maya didn't move. "Why are you really helping me?" Dante took a sip of his whiskey, his back to her. For a long moment he didn't answer. Then he turned, and in the dim light of the penthouse, his face looked different. Tired, almost human. 3 years ago, he said quietly, "my sister was arrested for a crime she didn't commit. I had resources, lawyers, connections. I got her out within hours." He paused, swirling the whiskey in his glass. "But by then, the real criminals knew she'd been questioned. They knew she might talk, so they made sure she never could." The air in the room felt too thin. What happened to her? Car accident. Very tragic, very convenient. His expression was carved from ice now, emotionless and hard. "I found out 6 months later that one of my own accountants had been using her identity to embezzle money, just like someone's using yours. She was innocent. She died anyway." "I'm sorry," Maya whispered. "Don't be sorry." Dante finished his whiskey in one swallow. "Be smart, trust no one, and help me find whoever did this before they decide you're a liability." He walked past her toward the master bedroom, then stopped in the doorway. "Maya," she looked up. "My sister's name was Isabella. She was 24. She wanted to be a teacher." His hand tightened on the door frame. "Get some sleep. We have work to do." The door closed behind him, and Maya was alone in a stranger's home, wearing a stranger's clothes, trying to figure out how her life had turned into a crime novel in the span of a single day. She found the guest room. It was bigger than her entire apartment, with a king bed and an ensuite bathroom with marble everything. The closet held women's clothes in her size, jeans, sweaters, a leather jacket, even underwear still in the package. The precision of it should have been comforting. Instead, it made her skin crawl. She didn't sleep. She sat on the bed and went through every memory of the past year, trying to find the crack where someone had slipped through. The hospital visit with her mother, forms signed, insurance cards photocopied. The lease application, social security number, employment history, references. The coffee shop job, W-2 forms, direct deposit information. The FAFSA for the business classes she'd taken online, every piece of her financial life laid bare. Too many access points. Too many possibilities. Her phone buzzed. She'd almost forgotten she had it. The screen showed 3 missed calls from her mother, 2 from Tommy, and a text from Rob at the coffee shop that just said, "Don't come in tomorrow." So she'd been right. Already fired. Already erased. She called Tommy instead of their mother. He answered on the first ring, voice tight with worry. "Maya, what the hell is going on? Mom saw the news." "I didn't do it," she said. "Tommy, I swear I didn't do anything they're saying." "I know that." His voice cracked. "But Maya, they're saying you laundered money for the mob. They're saying you might go to prison." "I'm not going to prison." She tried to sound confident, tried to be the strong older sister he needed. "I'm going to fix this." "How?" "Good question. I'm working with someone, a lawyer. We're going to prove I'm innocent." "Mom wants to talk to you. Tell her I'll call her tomorrow. Tell her not to worry." "She's already worrying." "So am I know. But Tommy, I need you to do something for me. Think back to when we were in San Francisco. Did Uncle James ever mention owing money to anyone? Did he ever seem scared?" Tommy was quiet for a moment. "There were those guys who came by the restaurant sometimes. They wore nice suits, but they felt wrong, you know. Uncle James would take them to the back office and they'd talk for hours. He always looked sick after they left." Maya's chest tightened. "What did they look like?" "I don't remember. I was 14, Maya. I just remember thinking they looked like bad guys in a movie." "Did Uncle James ever mention their names?" "No, but—" Tommy hesitated. "There was one thing. The night before the restaurant closed, I heard Uncle James on the phone. He was crying. He said something like, 'I did what you asked. The debt is paid.' I always thought he meant the landlord or something, but what if it wasn't the landlord? What if Uncle James had paid off a debt in another way? What if he'd sold information about his niece to dangerous people? Tommy, I have to go. Tell Mom I love her. And stay safe, okay?" She ended the call before he could ask more questions. Her hands were shaking again. She wanted to believe Uncle James would never hurt her, but the pieces were starting to fit together in a picture she didn't want to see. A knock on the door startled her. "It's open," she called. Dante entered carrying a laptop and a thick folder. He'd changed into dark jeans and a black t-shirt, and somehow he looked more dangerous like this, less polished, more predatory. "Can't sleep either?" he asked, settling into the chair by the window. "Would you?" "Fair point." He opened the laptop and turned it to face her. "I had my people pull everything they could find on your uncle's restaurant. Golden Dragon, closed 3 years ago after accumulating $200,000 in debt." $200,000? Maya leaned forward, scanning the documents on the screen. "Uncle James told me it was just back rent. According to this, the rent was current until the very end. The debt was elsewhere." Dante pulled up another document, a bank statement with dozens of wire transfers highlighted in yellow. "Your uncle was sending money to an offshore account in the Caymans. 5,000 here, 10,000 there. It adds up. Why would he do that? Either he was laundering money for someone else, or he was paying off a debt. Given the pattern's small, irregular payments over 2 years, I'd say debt." Dante's eyes met hers. "The question is, what did he do to create that debt? And what did he do to pay it off?" Maya felt sick. "You think he gave them my information?" "I think it's a possibility we need to investigate." Dante closed the laptop. "But there's something else. The signature on those bank documents, the ones they claim are yours, it's good, but it's not perfect. I had a forensic analyst look at them. Whoever forged your signature practiced, but they rushed the final versions. There are tells." "What kind of tells?" "Pressure points. Hesitation marks. Your real signature has a distinctive flow to it, especially in the Y and the H of Chen. The forgeries mimic the shape, but not the rhythm. He pulled out his phone and showed her side-by-side images, her real signature on her lease application, and the forged ones from the bank. See how the pen lifts slightly here? You don't do that. You connect the letters in one continuous motion. She studied the images. He was right. The differences were subtle, but once he pointed them out, they were obvious. This means someone practiced by tracing my signature, she said slowly. They had access to documents I'd actually signed. Exactly. Dante pocketed his phone. Which brings us back to your uncle. If he had copies of your employment records from when you worked at his restaurant, he'd have everything needed to forge convincing documents. Maya wanted to argue, wanted to defend Uncle James, but the evidence was damning. So we go to San Francisco and confront him. We go to San Francisco and we investigate quietly. If your uncle is involved, if he knows we're looking into him, he'll disappear or worse. Whoever he's working for will clean up loose ends. Dante stood. That includes you. You're saying they might try to kill me. I'm saying they already stole your identity to commit federal crimes. They've already set you up to take the fall. Why would they stop there? He walked to the door, then paused. The guest room locks from the inside. Use it. And Maya, she looked up. If you try to run, I'll find you, and then I can't help you anymore. It wasn't a threat. It was a statement of fact. He left, and she locked the door behind him. She didn't sleep that night. She lay on the expensive bed in the expensive room and thought about Uncle James, about the restaurant, about everything she'd lost. Somewhere around 4 a.m, exhaustion finally dragged her under. She woke to sunlight streaming through the windows and the smell of coffee. The clock read 5:47. Dante had said 6. She showered quickly, dressed in the clothes from the closet, dark jeans, a soft gray sweater, boots that fit perfectly. There was a leather bag on the chair with a note in precise handwriting. Everything you'll need. Don't bring your phone. Use this. Inside the bag was a new iPhone, still in the box. Also a wallet with $500 in cash, a new ID with her photo but a different name, Sarah Martinez, and a credit card. She picked up the ID, studying the details. Date of birth slightly different. Address in Denver she'd never been to. Everything designed to create a clean trail that couldn't be traced back to her real identity. This was what it meant to work with someone like Dante Castellano. False identities, burner phones, running from the law while trying to clear her name. She pocketed the phone and cash, left her old phone on the nightstand, and went to find Dante. He was in the kitchen, drinking espresso and reading something on his tablet. He looked up when she entered, his gray eyes assessing. Good, you're ready. Am I really ready for any of this? No one ever is. He finished his espresso and rinsed the cup, precise and methodical. Cars waiting. We'll be in San Francisco by lunch. We're flying. Private plane. No security checkpoints, no passenger manifests. As far as anyone knows, Maya Chen is still in Chicago. He grabbed his jacket from the back of a chair, black leather, well-worn. Sarah Martinez, on the other hand, is taking a vacation. The private jet was smaller than she expected, but luxurious. Cream leather seats, polished wood accents, a flight attendant who brought them breakfast without being asked. Maya sat by the window and watched Chicago disappear below them, and wondered if she'd ever see it again. Dante worked during the flight, typing on his laptop and making calls in Italian that she couldn't follow. She caught names she recognized from the news, politicians, judges, businessmen. The casual way he wielded power should have frightened her more than it did. Instead, she found herself studying him, trying to understand the contradiction. He was a criminal, but he'd come to her rescue. He was dangerous, but he'd shown her more kindness in 12 hours than most people had in 12 months. You're staring, he said without looking up from his laptop. Maya flushed. I'm trying to figure you out. Don't. You'll only confuse yourself. He closed the laptop and turned to face her. People like me don't fit in the boxes you're used to. We operate in the gray spaces. You said you wanted justice for your sister. That doesn't sound very gray. His expression hardened. Justice and the law aren't the same thing, Maya. The law said Isabella was guilty. I knew she was innocent. So I took justice into my own hands. What did you do? I found the accountant who'd used her identity. I found the people he was working with, and I made sure they understood the cost of taking something from my family. She should have been horrified. Instead, she felt a strange sort of satisfaction. Did it help? Getting revenge? No, the word was flat, emotionless. She was still dead. Revenge doesn't bring people back, but it does send a message. What message? That the Castellano family protects its own. He leaned back in his seat, studying her with those storm-gray eyes. You're under my protection now, Maya. That means something in my world. It means no one touches you without facing consequences. I'm not family. You're an innocent person being used as a pawn. That makes you worth protecting. He paused. And you remind me of her, Isabella, the way you hold yourself like you're trying to take up less space than you deserve. She did that too. Maya didn't know what to say to that. The moment stretched between them, heavy with things unspoken, until the flight attendant appeared to announce their descent into San Francisco. The city spread out below them, the bay glittering in the sun, the Golden Gate Bridge spanning the water, the hills rising like waves. Maya felt a pang of homesickness for a place she'd left behind, for a simpler time before everything fell apart. A car was waiting at the private terminal. Another black SUV, another silent driver. They drove into the city, through neighborhoods Maya remembered. The Mission with its colorful murals, Chinatown with its tight streets and hanging lanterns, North Beach where Uncle James's restaurant had stood. Where are we going first? She asked. To see what's at the old restaurant location. Sometimes the past leaves traces. Dante was typing on his phone, his fingers flying over the screen. Then we'll track down your uncle. My people have a last known address. The Golden Dragon was gone. In its place was a trendy Vietnamese fusion restaurant with Edison bulbs and exposed brick. Maya stood on the sidewalk, staring at the spot where she'd spent 2 years of her life, and felt the loss hit her fresh. This was where she'd learned to work hard, where she'd dreamed about someday opening her own place, where Uncle James had treated her like a daughter, where Uncle James had betrayed her, maybe. Come on, Dante said quietly. Let's go inside. The interior had been completely remodeled. Nothing remained of the Golden Dragon's red and gold decor, the round tables with lazy Susans, the lucky cat by the register. It was all sleek and modern now, unrecognizable. Dante spoke to the host in a low voice, showing him something, probably cash, based on how quickly the host nodded and led them to a back office. The previous owner left some boxes when we took over the lease, the host explained, gesturing to a corner stacked with cardboard. We kept meaning to throw them out, but we'll take them, Dante said. Is there anything else? Documents, files? There's the old safe. It was empty when we opened it, but it's still in the basement if you want to look. They went down narrow stairs into a basement that smelled like old grease and mildew. The safe was built into the wall, door hanging open. Dante examined it with a penlight, running his fingers along the interior. Empty, he confirmed. But there are scratches here, recent ones. Someone cleaned this out in a hurry. Maya crouched beside him, peering into the safe. There was something lodged in the corner, a small fragment of paper, torn and yellowed. She picked it out carefully. It was part of a photograph. Just a corner showing someone's hand, male, wearing a distinctive ring with a blue stone. Nothing else, but the paper stock was thick and glossy, professional quality. Someone ripped up photographs and took them, she said, showing Dante the fragment. He studied it, then pocketed the scrap. Your uncle was hiding something. The question is whether he hid it well enough that we can't find it, or whether he left a trail. They loaded the boxes into the SUV and drove to the address Dante's people had found for Uncle James, a small house in the Sunset District, stucco and faded paint, with a garden that needed weeding. Maya's stomach churned as they walked up the path. Part of her hoped he wouldn't be home. Part of her hoped he would be so she could look him in the eye and demand the truth. Dante knocked. They waited. No answer. He knocked again, harder this time. Still nothing. He's not here, Maya said, and she couldn't tell if she felt relief or disappointment. Dante tried the doorknob. Locked. He pulled out a small leather case from his pocket, selected 2 thin metal tools, and had the lock open in under 30 seconds. That's breaking and entering, Maya hissed. So arrest me. He pushed the door open and gestured for her to follow. The house was dark, curtains drawn. It smelled stale, like no one had been here in weeks. Dante moved through the space with practiced efficiency, checking rooms, opening closets. Maya stayed in the living room, looking at the life Uncle James had built after the restaurant closed. There were photographs on the mantel. Uncle James smiling at a wedding. Uncle James with an older woman, his mother, Maya's grandmother. Uncle James with Maya and Tommy at the restaurant, all of them laughing. She picked up that photo, studying their younger faces. Tommy must have been 14 in this picture. She'd been 21, fresh from San Francisco State with dreams she couldn't afford. "Maya," Dante called from another room. "You need to see this." She found him in a small office, standing in front of a desk with a laptop and papers scattered across the surface. But what made her breath catch was the wall behind the desk. It was covered in photographs. Not family photos, surveillance photos. Pictures of Maya at the coffee shop in Chicago, Maya walking to her apartment, Maya at the grocery store, at the bus stop, living her life while someone watched and documented every move. "Oh God," she whispered. Dante was examining the photos with cold precision. "These are dated. The oldest one is from 18 months ago. The newest is from last week. 18 months. Someone had been watching her for 18 months. Why?" Her voice came out broken. "Studying you. Learning your patterns, your routine, your signature." Dante pulled one photo down, Maya signing for a package at her apartment. "See how the angle captures your hand? That's not random. Whoever took these was specifically documenting how you write." Maya felt violated in a way that went beyond words. Someone had turned her life into data, her identity into a tool, her existence into a crime. Dante was going through the desk drawers now, quick and methodical. He pulled out a ledger, flipped through it, then stopped. "Here," he showed her a page. At the top, in Uncle James's handwriting, payment schedule. Below were dates and amounts: $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. Next to each amount was a name she didn't recognize. But at the bottom of the page, in different handwriting, was a note. "Debt cleared. Services rendered. MI complete." "MI," Maya said. "Modified identity. Most likely." Dante took a photo of the page with his phone. "Your uncle sold you to them, not just your information, you. He agreed to provide a clean identity they could use for money laundering." The betrayal cut deeper than she'd expected. She'd known intellectually that Uncle James must be involved, but seeing the proof, seeing her life reduced to a ledger entry, it hurt in a way she hadn't prepared for. "There's more." Dante opened the laptop. It wasn't password protected. Either Uncle James was careless or he'd left in a hurry. The desktop was cluttered with files, but one folder was labeled simply, MC. Maya Chen. Had to be. Dante opened it. Inside were scanned copies of every document Maya had ever signed at the restaurant. W-2s, employment forms, even her original job application with her social security number clearly visible. Also copies of her driver's license, her social security card, her birth certificate. "He had everything," she said numbly. "He could have created a complete identity package. Not just him." Dante clicked on an email chain. It was between Uncle James and someone using the name Phoenix. The emails were coded, talking about merchandise and delivery dates, but the meaning was clear. Phoenix had commissioned the identity theft. Uncle James had provided the raw materials. The most recent email was from 3 weeks ago. Problem. Chen questioned by associates. May need to accelerate timeline. Recommend permanent solution if exposure risk increases. Permanent solution. They'd been planning to kill her. Maya sat down hard in the desk chair, her legs suddenly unable to hold her. "I trusted him," she said. "He was family. Family is often the worst betrayer." Dante's voice was flat, but she heard something underneath, old pain, carefully controlled. "They know where to hurt you." "The debt," Maya said, trying to think through the shock. "He must have owed them so much that giving up me was the only way out. Or they threatened someone he loved more than you. A sister, a parent, a child." Dante was copying files from the laptop to a thumb drive. "We'll know more once we find him. How do we do that? We make him come to us." Dante pocketed the thumb drive and closed the laptop. "Everyone has a trigger. For your uncle, it was protecting his secrets. Now that we found them, he'll have to respond. They heard it then, a car pulling up outside, doors opening, footsteps on the path. Dante moved instantly, pulling Maya up from the chair and toward the back of the house. Out the back, now. But Uncle James, that's not your uncle. His hand closed around her wrist, pulling her into the kitchen. Through the window, she caught a glimpse of the men walking up the front path. 3 of them, large and purposeful, wearing dark suits that didn't hide the bulges under their arms. Guns. Dante opened the back door and shoved her through, following close behind. They cut through the overgrown garden and into the alley behind the house. The SUV was parked 2 blocks away, too far. Behind them, glass shattered. They were coming through. "Run," Dante said, and his gun was in his hand now, matte black and deadly. Maya ran. Her boots pounded the pavement, her breath came in gasps, and adrenaline turned everything sharp and bright. She heard shouts behind them, heavy footsteps, and then a gunshot that made her flinch even though she kept running. Dante returned fire without slowing, 3 quick shots that echoed off the buildings. Someone screamed. They kept running. They burst out onto a main street, Noriega, crowded with afternoon shoppers and families. The pursuers fell back, unwilling to start a shootout in public. Dante grabbed Maya's arm and pulled her into a Chinese bakery, through the kitchen where startled workers stared, and out another door into a parking lot. The SUV was there. Dante must have texted his driver because the engine was already running. They threw themselves inside and the driver peeled out before the doors were even fully closed. "Who were they?" Maya gasped, her heart hammering. "Not police, not FBI." Dante was checking his gun, ejecting the magazine and reloading. "Those were Phoenix's people. Your uncle must have told them we were looking. Or they've been watching the house. More likely." He looked at her, his gray eyes intense. "They know we know. This just became a race." "A race for what?" "Evidence, your uncle, proof that you're innocent." He leaned forward to speak to the driver. "Airport, private terminal." Now, they made it to the plane without further incident, though Maya kept expecting more men with guns to appear. The jet was fueled and ready. They were airborne within 30 minutes. "Where are we going?" Maya asked once they'd leveled off. "Somewhere safe while I put pressure on Phoenix." Dante was on his phone again, typing rapidly. "I'm sending messages through my network. Word will get back to Phoenix that I'm looking for him. That I'm not happy about someone using my name to commit crimes. That's when he'll make a mistake. What if he doesn't? He will. Criminals always do when they're cornered." Dante put his phone down and looked at her. "You held up well back there. Most people freeze when shots are fired. I was terrified. But you ran anyway, that's what matters." He paused. "Your brother called my people. He's worried about you." "I can't call him. They might be monitoring his phone." "They probably are. But you can send him a message through a secure channel. Let him know you're alive and working to fix this." Dante handed her the new phone. "Use this. My people will route it through 3 countries before it reaches him. It'll look like it came from Malaysia." Maya took the phone, her hands still shaking slightly from the adrenaline crash. She typed carefully, "Tommy, I'm safe. Don't believe what you hear. I'm going to fix this. Tell Mom I love her. Don't try to contact me. I'll reach out when I can." She sent it and handed the phone back to Dante. He glanced at the message and nodded. "Good. Short, clear, no details they can use. You've done this before, helped people disappear." "I've done a lot of things." He stood and walked to the small bar at the back of the plane, pouring 2 drinks. He brought one to her, whiskey in a crystal tumbler. "You should eat something. It's going to be a long night." She took the whiskey but didn't drink it. "Where are we really going?" "My family has a compound in Montana. Remote, defensible, off the grid. You'll be safe there while I handle Phoenix." "Handle him how?" "You don't want to know the details." "Yes, I do. This is my life. I deserve to know what you're planning to do with my name." Dante studied her for a long moment, then sat down across from her. "Fine. Phoenix is a middleman. He brokers services, false identities, money laundering, document forging. He works for multiple crime families, including some of mine rivals. The fact that he used my family name suggests he's either incredibly stupid or sending a message." "What message?" "That the Castellano influence is slipping. that someone else is moving into our territory. His jaw tightened. I can't let that stand. So I'm going to find Phoenix. I'm going to find out who he's working for, and I'm going to make an example that reminds everyone why you don't use my name. And what about Uncle James? He's a small fish. Once we have Phoenix, your uncle becomes leverage. We offer him a deal, testimony against Phoenix in exchange for leniency. The federal prosecutor will take it because it gives them a path to a bigger target. And me? You walk away clean. All charges dropped. New identity if you want it, or your old life back with enough money to start over properly. He took a sip of his whiskey. That's the plan. It was a good plan. It addressed the practical problems. But it didn't address the hollow feeling in Maya's chest, the sense that even if the legal issues disappeared, she'd never be the same person again. What if I don't want to walk away? She asked quietly. Dante's expression shifted, surprise, then something darker. What do you mean? I mean, Phoenix hurt me. He hurt my family. He made me afraid to exist. She leaned forward. You said you got justice for your sister. What if I want the same thing? Justice or revenge? Is there a difference? Always. But he was looking at her differently now, with something that might have been respect. If you want revenge, Maya, that means getting your hands dirty. That means becoming someone you weren't before. Are you sure that's what you want? She thought about Uncle James, about the surveillance photos, about federal agents putting her in handcuffs for crimes she didn't commit. She thought about Tommy's worried voice on the phone, about her mother who'd sacrificed everything to give her children a better life, about the future that had been stolen from her. I want them to understand what they took from me, she said. I want them to know that Maya Chen isn't just a name they can use and discard. She stopped, surprised by the vehemence in her own voice. I want them to be afraid. Dante smiled. It was a small, dangerous smile that didn't reach his eyes. Now you're thinking like a Castellano. The plane landed at a small airfield in Montana, surrounded by mountains and forests and nothing else for miles. 2 more SUVs waited, engines running. They drove for an hour through increasingly remote terrain until they reached a compound that looked like something out of a thriller. High walls, security cameras, armed guards at the gate. This is home, Dante said as they passed through the security checkpoint. Or one of them. The main house was massive, all stone and timber with views of the mountains that should have been beautiful but felt more like a fortress. Inside was warmth, though. A fire in the great room, comfortable furniture, the smell of cooking food. A woman appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel. She was maybe 50, with dark hair streaked with gray and eyes that immediately assessed Maya with sharp intelligence. Dante, she said, and her accent was thick Italian. You brought a guest. Mama, this is Maya Chen. She'll be staying with us for a while. Maya, my mother, Lucia Castellano. Lucia's expression softened slightly. The girl from the news, the false charges. Yes, ma'am, Maya said, unsure of the protocol for meeting a mob boss's mother. You look hungry. Come, I'll feed you. Lucia disappeared back into the kitchen, and somehow it was more command than invitation. Dante smiled, a real smile this time. You'll like my mother. She's the only person who can tell me what to do and live to talk about it. They ate dinner at a long table with Dante, his mother, and 3 men Maya didn't recognize but who were clearly part of Dante's organization. The food was incredible. Homemade pasta, braised short ribs, fresh bread. Maya hadn't realized how hungry she was until she started eating. The conversation was in Italian mostly, but Lucia would occasionally translate for Maya's benefit. They were talking business, territories, shipments, some problem with a judge in New York. Maya listened and tried not to think too hard about what it meant that she was sitting at a crime family's dinner table like this was normal. After dinner, Dante took her to a room on the 2nd floor, large and comfortable, with a fireplace and another view of the mountains. Get some rest, he said. Tomorrow we start putting pressure on Phoenix. It won't be pleasant. I'm not fragile. I know, but you will be before this is over. He paused in the doorway. Maya, what you said on the plane about wanting them to be afraid, I understand that, but revenge has a cost. It changes you. Make sure you're willing to pay that price. He left before she could respond. She tried to sleep but couldn't. Around midnight, she gave up and went downstairs. The house was quiet, but she could see light under a door at the end of the hall. She knocked softly. "Come in," Dante's voice called. He was in what looked like a study, surrounded by computer monitors and papers. He'd changed into a t-shirt and jeans, and he looked tired in a way she hadn't seen before, human and fallible. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked without looking away from the screens. "I keep thinking about Uncle James. About why he did it." She sat in the chair across from his desk. The debt must have been crushing, but to sell out his niece. People do terrible things when they're desperate. That doesn't excuse it, but it explains it. Dante pointed to one of the monitors, which showed what looked like financial records. "I've been tracing the money. The payments your uncle made went to an account in the Caymans, but from there it was split and moved to 6 different locations. Professional money laundering. Can you follow it? I have people working on it. But Phoenix is good. He's hidden his tracks well." Dante leaned back in his chair, rubbing his eyes. "There's something else. Those men who came to the house today, I had my people identify them. They're not Phoenix's usual crew. They're private contractors, ex-military. Someone paid serious money to send them after us. Meaning Phoenix has backing. Meaning Phoenix has powerful backing. The kind of backing that can afford to burn through mercenaries just to clean up a loose end." He looked at her. "Maya, I need to know, are you sure you want to keep going? Because if we push this, if we force Phoenix's hand, things are going to get worse before they get better." She thought about walking away, about taking whatever new identity he could provide and disappearing somewhere Phoenix and his backers would never find her. Starting over with a new name, a new life, always looking over her shoulder. "I'm sure," she said. "Then we need to talk about what comes next. Phoenix won't come to us. We need to draw him out. That means using you as bait." "How?" "We leak that you're alive and actively investigating. We let it slip that you found evidence in your uncle's house. We make Phoenix think you're a threat that needs to be eliminated immediately." Dante's expression was grim. "And when he comes for you, we'll be ready." "You mean I'll be the target. Protected target. I'll have a team around you at all times, but yes, you'll be exposed." He paused. "If you're not comfortable with this, I'll do it." The words came out steadier than she felt. "What do you need from me?" They spent the next hour planning. Dante would arrange for Maya to be seen in San Francisco, visiting locations connected to Uncle James. The surveillance photos would show her asking questions, looking for evidence, being a problem. It would take a day, maybe 2, before Phoenix responded. When he did, Dante's people would track the hit team back to its source. "What about the evidence we actually found?" Maya asked. "The laptop, the ledger, the photos. Already being analyzed by my people. If there's anything in there that points to Phoenix's real identity or his backers, we'll find it." Dante pulled up another screen, this one showing a map of San Francisco with multiple locations marked. "These are places your uncle frequented in the months before he closed the restaurant. We'll visit each one, make sure people see you, ask questions that will get reported back. I'll be walking around with a target on my back. You already have a target on your back. This time you'll know it's there." He reached into a drawer and pulled out a small black device. "This is a GPS tracker. You'll wear it at all times. If anything happens, if you're grabbed or if the security detail loses you, I'll know exactly where you are within seconds." She took the tracker, feeling the weight of it. Such a small thing to trust her life to. "Get some sleep," Dante said. "We leave at dawn." This time she did sleep, exhausted by fear and adrenaline and the strange, surreal quality of her life now. She dreamed of Uncle James, of the Golden Dragon before it closed, of a time when her biggest worry was making rent. She woke to Lucia knocking on her door with coffee and fresh bread. "Dante says you have a difficult day ahead. Eat." Maya ate breakfast with Dante's mother in the kitchen while Dante coordinated with his team. Lucia asked about her family, her dreams, the coffee shop in Chicago. Normal questions that felt absurd given the circumstances. "You remind him of Isabella," Lucia said quietly. "You have the same eyes, determined but kind. She would have liked you." "Dante told me what happened to her." Lucia's expression hardened. "My daughter was innocent. The law did not protect her. So my son protected her the only way he knew how, with violence and vengeance. I do not know if it was justice, but it was all we had. I'm sorry for your loss." And I am sorry for yours. Not dead, but still loss, your reputation, your safety, your trust in family. Lucia reached across the table and squeezed Maya's hand. Dante will help you. He has darkness in him, yes, but also honor. He will not let you fall. Dante appeared in the doorway, dressed in all black, his gun visible at his hip. Ready? Maya nodded and followed him out to the waiting SUV. They flew back to San Francisco in silence. Maya watched the mountains give way to plains, then to the coastline, and tried to prepare herself for what was coming. Being bait, being visible, drawing out killers. The first stop was a restaurant in Chinatown where Uncle James had been seen frequently. Dante walked in with her, his presence making people stare. They sat at a table by the window, deliberately visible, and ordered food neither of them wanted. Ask the server about your uncle, Dante instructed quietly. Make it clear you're looking for him, word will spread.